My 15-year-old daughter, Hope, was sobbing hysterically in her bedroom doorway. She had her phone clutched tightly in her trembling hand. Her father was already on the speakerphone, demanding to know what I had done this time. AITA for giving my daughter's loft space to her sister. Hope pointed a shaking finger at me and screamed that I was pushing her out of my life completely. All because I reassigned her old loft bedroom to her younger sister, Grace. A room Hope hadn't slept in consistently for 7 months. You always favor Grace over me. I knew you never really wanted me around. Those words cut straight through my chest like a knife. I never meant to make her feel like the second best child in our home. Yet here we were, right back in the middle of an explosive family war. Just 2 weeks ago, 13-year-old Grace came to me with a very simple request. She asked if she and Hope could finally switch bedrooms. Grace pointed out that she lived with me full-time, while Hope only visited every other weekend. It genuinely felt unfair for Hope to keep the massive loft room just for storage. So I checked in with both girls and their dad first to see how everyone felt. Hope actually told me our relationship had improved a lot lately. She seemed completely fine with the new arrangements at first. Then everything completely derailed in a matter of seconds. When I told Hope we were going to officially swap the rooms, she lost control. She accused me of punishing her for moving in with her father full-time. I knew I was right to leave your house. You only care about Grace. I tried to stay calm and remain firm with her. I reminded her that she chose to move across town to her dad's permanent home, and she was using the loft primarily for scattered art supplies and storage anyway. My words only made her cry harder. She immediately grabbed her phone and dialed her father to come rescue her. Within 20 minutes, tires screeched outside our driveway. My ex-husband marched right up to my front door, furious and ready for a fight. You are being completely unfair to Hope. If she still lived here 50-50, you wouldn't have touched her room. He shouted those words right in my face, while Hope stood behind him sobbing. I stood my ground and looked him straight in the eye. I told him Grace lives here every single day and deserves to choose her space. Grace isn't losing anything by staying in her old room. You always favor Grace, and that's why you lost Hope. That was his final parting shot before he slammed my front door shut. Now, the emotional fallout has been completely brutal. It has been 2 agonizing weeks since that blowout happened. Hope's text messages to both her sister and me have turned ice-cold and terse. She refuses to come over for dinner at our dining table, and she hasn't stayed a single night at my house since the fight. The high-stakes fallout of this bedroom war is tearing my family apart all over again. Did I cross a line by taking away the loft? Let me take you back to how our messy divorce planted the seeds for all of this toxic alienation. To understand why Hope exploded at me over a bedroom, we have to go back 3 years to our bitter divorce. My ex and I finally called it quits after years of strain. The legal process was completely messy and exhausting. It unfortunately caused a massive strain between Hope and me. My ex made sure to feed our daughters his own narrative. He openly blamed me for breaking up our family, and 15-year-old Hope ate every single word up. I tried to take the high road during the separation. I didn't assume the blame with my own words, but I also didn't aggressively defend myself either. I thought keeping quiet protected the kids from adult drama. Instead, my silence left a vacuum for my ex to fill. Both of us had to move into new houses after the family home sold. This was an early sore spot for Hope. She blamed me directly for the loss of her childhood home. In our current 3-bedroom house, space was tight. One of the smaller bedrooms featured a cool loft area above it. When we first moved in, Hope and Grace made a deal. Hope took the room with the loft. It helped keep all her messy art supplies contained. At first, my ex and I shared the girls 50-50. Week on, week off, switching back and forth constantly. That delicate custody balance lasted until 7 months ago. That was when Hope moved in with her father full-time. She had been asking since our initial separation if she could just stay with him permanently. Feeling worn down, I finally agreed to let her go. I wanted her to be happy in whichever home she chose. We still see each other and text frequently. She stays over at my house every other weekend, but her primary bedroom remained completely untouched, with its amazing loft sitting empty most of the month. While Grace lived here full-time in the smaller room, Hope's departure left a deep scar on our dynamic. My ex had successfully alienated her from my daily life, and I was left trying to pick up the broken pieces, trying to keep the peace between two hurting households, without realizing a brand new crisis was brewing, because Grace was starting to notice the glaring unfairness, setting the stage for the explosive confrontation ahead. 2 weeks ago, my younger daughter Grace came to me with a direct question. She asked if she and Hope could finally switch bedrooms. Grace pointed out that she is the one living with me full-time. It is completely unfair that Hope has the massive loft space while barely ever here. I knew she had a valid point, but I wanted to handle it carefully, so I talked with their dad and Hope to ask how they felt about our new arrangement. Hope actually pointed out that our relationship had improved a lot lately. She said it was because we aren't butting heads so much anymore. Since everyone seemed pleased with their current living situation, I gave Grace the green light. I told Hope of the upcoming room change well in advance. I asked her to sort through her room and loft so she could keep track of her things. She did not take the news well at all. Hope told me she knew she was right to leave my house because I clearly favor Grace. She claimed she always felt like she was the second favorite child. I never meant to make her feel like second best. I have to admit that I do have a soft spot for Grace. Their dad openly favors Hope because she is so much more like him. I didn't want Grace to feel lesser because of his blatant bias. And yes, Grace is much more like me. I had to be firm with Hope when she threw those accusations around. I reminded her that she was the one who chose to live with her dad full-time. She was using the loft more for storage than actual daily utilization. Hope started to cry right then and there. She said she felt like she was being pushed out of my life completely. Before I could calm her down, she called her dad to come pick her up. And of course, he showed up ready for a fight. He told me I was being completely unfair to Hope. He argued that if Hope was still going back and forth between homes normally, the larger room would have stayed hers, so why change it up now? He claimed Grace wasn't losing anything by staying in her old room. I fired back with the obvious reality of our daily lives. Grace is the one who spends 90% of her time with me. She should absolutely be able to pick which room she wants to live in. My ex refused to see any logic in my argument. His final remark cut straight to the core of our bitter history. He told me I always favored Grace, and that is the exact reason why I lost Hope. Those words hung in the air like poison. It has been 2 weeks since that explosive confrontation. Hope's text messages have been ice cold and extremely terse. She is barely speaking to her sister or me. She refuses to eat dinner at the kitchen table with us. And she hasn't stayed the night at my house once since it happened. The house feels heavy and broken all over again. I wanted to give Grace a fair reward for living here full-time. Instead, I triggered my eldest daughter's deepest abandonment fears. Now I am left wondering if my reasoning was entirely flawed. Was trying to be fair to Grace actually an act of hidden bias against Hope? The Reddit comments are waiting to tear me apart for this. Am I the arsehole for giving Hope's loft room to her sister? It has been 2 weeks since that explosive night. Hope's texts have been ice cold and terse. She refuses to eat dinner at the table with us. She has not stayed the night at my house once. I posted my story online for an outside perspective. The internet gave me a brutal reality check. Commenters pointed out things I had been blind to. They made me realize I needed to clarify my timeline. I never actually swapped their rooms on a whim. The second conversation was just a warning of the plan. Nothing had actually been moved yet. Hope did not come home to find her things in trash bags. I did not ask her permission because the change was happening. Grace spends most of her life under my roof. She deserved a space that actually fit her daily needs. But the commenters uncovered a much darker truth. They looked at my past marriage through a clearer lens. I filed for divorce because my ex was emotionally abusive. He hid trackers inside my car to stalk my movements. He punished me with the silent treatment for days. He cut off my bank and credit cards behind my back. He used dating websites while accusing me of cheating. He projected his own guilt onto me constantly. I never disclosed those terrifying reasons to my kids. I refused to sling mud or involve them in adult affairs. By keeping the peace, I let him control the narrative. He let Hope believe I destroyed our family for nothing, and I just stayed silent to protect their innocence. That silence allowed his abuse to poison my eldest daughter. Reading those comments felt like taking a cold shower. I realized how much work I have ahead of me. This room switch was never just about a bedroom. It triggered years of deep, unhealed abandonment fears that her father actively stoked and weaponized. I have to step up and fix this broken relationship. I cannot undo the past, but I can change my approach. We are going back to family therapy soon. This issue will be front and center in our next session. I need to apologize to Hope for handling this poorly. I need to validate her feelings without getting defensive, and I must show her she is never my second choice. Grace deserves her own space as a full-time resident. That part of my decision was entirely justified. But the execution lacked the empathy Hope needed. I fell into the trap of treating her like a guest, when she really just wants to feel secure here. Reddit was harsh, but Reddit was right. I have a mountain of work to do to earn her trust back. My ex will keep trying to tear us apart. He wants Hope to believe she only has one real home. I refuse to let him win that battle. I will show up for Hope every single day, even when she pushes me away in anger. Patience and consistency are my only tools now. Thank you all for setting my worldview straight. I could have done better. Now, I will do better.